'Twas the night before tariffs, and all through the land, Canadians worried what fate was at hand. The leaders had warned us the headlines were dire, with duties and levies set soon to transpire. The workers lay restless, awake in their beds, as visions of hardship swirled in their heads. Factories slowed, their future unclear, as whispers of layoffs rang sharp in the ear. When out from the news came a clamorous sound, a tweet from the South that twisted the wound. America first, the message declared, leaving a nation both shaken and scared. The markets grew tense, the dollar fell low, as industries braced for the oncoming blow. The farmers stood silent, surveying their fields, uncertain if trade would still bring them yields. Then out on the lawn, a red toque appeared, a voice once so steady, now laced with some fear. "My friends," he called out, "we must stand tall, but I fear the worst could befall us all." He spoke of hard choices, of belts pulled in tight, of shelves growing bare and wallets grown light. They tax our timber, our auto, our grain, and every Canadian will feel the strain. The people stood somber, their hopes wearing thin, as uncertainty darkened the future within. A chill filled the air, no comfort to find, a nation held hostage to deals redefined. Then came the decree, a signature signed from the hands of a leader so cruelly inclined. Trump grinned as he spoke, his voice filled with glee. "Canada loses, but America's free." The factories fell silent, the trucks left unfilled, the workers dismissed, their pockets unfilled. The shelves stood empty, the streets filled with cries, as winter crept in with no heat to supply. The towns became hollow, their futures erased, as debts turned to ruin, a nation disgraced. And as dawn broke forth on a country in pain, we whispered in terror, "Will we rise again?" "'Twas the night before tariffs, and this is You the People."
Well, that was a real nice rendition from not, as you might have imagined, Clement Clark Moore, but in fact, that was Stephen Carter putting his drama education.
Did you like that? Did you like the little drama I brought?
Yeah, and I'm Corey Hogan. Just
the
intro.
Yeah,
you don't want to miss.
I'm Stephen Carter. Yeah,
I already did.
Yeah.
That part, but yeah. So you're reacting well to the tariffs, then.
I think things are going well
about them.
I mean,
yeah. Not even the worst thing that America did today, and not a great thing.
No,
Tariffs.
I mean, I tried to get Zelensky into it, but it wasn't getting there. It was too hard for me, and I stopped.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah.
For the uninitiated, this is You the People, a podcast within a podcast where Stephen and I go on a bit of a tour of American issues. This is a bit of a different one because, of course, this is a very Canadian issue today, too.
Yeah, it's kind of You the People and the Strategists, mixed up.
It's a crossover episode.
Yeah, this is really also nice. What we do when we don't have a host.
Well, I gotta say, like us doing a crossover episode with ourselves is pretty us.
Pretty us,
so
yeah.
I'm okay with it.
I mean, we could have, if we'd found another podcast worthy of the opportunity.
That's a great point.
We could have reached out to them.
Yeah. So you, as always, you guide, right? And I react because, of course, you, all about the American news. You love to watch the American. You're old. You've got Fox on all of the time, I assume.
I'm always watching Fox. But I'm going to keep it really quite simple today. I think that we're going to talk about two things and only two things.
Okay.
Well, I guess a third, depending on how you'd classify it, because it's the fallout from the second. But I think today we have to, first of all, we have to plug the AFL League that we've got set up. You haven't yet joined it.
I did. I joined yesterday.
Okay,
so
the AFL Tipping League is set up for those people who follow the strategists and also know that the AFL plays Australian Football League.
Yeah, I was going to say you're going to explain what AFL is.
Yeah, Aussie rules football. Anyways, it's up and running, and we've got some really good people in it this year. Really good people. The AFL, of course, represented by Gil McGowan, who I think is helping produce the episode. That's probably not Gil McGowan. Is that what you're saying?
No, maybe anybody can put the name Gil McGowan out there. So that's
anyone can do that.
To keep in mind, anyone can.
Identity theft is what I say.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's tough. Anyways, there's lots of great people involved, and you win nothing when you win except bragging rights. There was a number of people who beat me last year. You weren't one of them.
No, I wasn't. I came in last, I think.
Yeah, I think you stopped. I think about halfway through you went, well, this is fucking stupid. And you stopped.
I'm going to do better this year. I'm going to give up earlier, I think.
I think so. I think you'll give up earlier. I mean, that is your model. Speaking of giving up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, of course, it shouldn't have, but the tariff announcement hit us like 907 kilograms of bricks today.
Yeah.
Right? It threw everything for a curve. The markets reacted in real time. We're going to start with that. We're going to start with Zelensky.
Well, why don't you? No, we're starting with the tariffs for sure. Okay. We're going to move on to Zelensky. I mean, what does the broader world think of this? I mean, I have this sense of Canadianism, but the broader world is interesting to me because the broader world feels like it's paying attention, but doesn't want to touch this shit show with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, I feel like I understand it. I don't love it as a Canadian, but I think everybody is sitting there saying, there, but for the grace of God, go I.
Right.
And they're trying to avoid being pulled into this Trump vortex and being the next person who gets his random capricious tariffs. But I assume, not in public, but in closed doors, in places like London where leaders were meeting, everybody is saying, what the absolute fuck? Like, I bet you they don't even get to like saying the thing they're saying what the fuck about.
Yeah,
I bet
exactly.
you they just say it.
They just look at each other.
Everyone else, and and Macron is like, yes, and
This whole episode actually was going to be just you and I going, what the fuck? Right?
Could be. It's
could
not too
be.
late.
It
We're
could
only
be
7 minutes in.
because I mean, Canadians are at a bit of a loss. I mean, I think that we're all scared. I think the Canadians are scared, but I don't think we have a real sense of what the ramifications are because each of us has the individual insulation, right? Where we're all like insulated, where this isn't going to happen. This isn't going to impact me. I mean, this could impact someone else, but it's certainly not going to impact me. I think that's where most Canadians are right now.
Sure.
But it's going to impact a lot of people really quickly, I think. Really quickly.
Yeah, because companies are going to start making decisions looking forward where they're going to say, this goes on for a while. We need cash on hand. Yeah, we might be able to ride it out, but it's not going to be pretty. Maybe we need to do layoffs now. Let's not forget, corporations have been somewhat trained to overreact in these moments, right? Because you don't want to, and also it is just kind of modern day capitalism that you run a little closer to the line than you did in, say, 1950. Like, you don't have tons of inventory on hand. I'm sure people have used the last month to build some of that stock, but generally speaking, you run it lean, you run it close to the wire, and that means that you're getting those parts a little bit later, which means these things are going to affect you a little bit sooner. Like, you don't have a bunch of stuff to move through here. So I think Canadians are going to be surprised by how much this hurts, unfortunately. I think that's a bit of a downer. Certainly, I hope it resolves quickly. Certainly, I hope Donald Trump backs down quickly. Doug Ford is out there threatening to turn off electricity, so that's kind of nice. I appreciated Doug Ford in these moments, right?
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, I think that people are a little bit nervous, but I also think there's a bit of a, well, fuck you too attitude that maybe wasn't even there in the same way a month ago. I think that we were more stunned a month ago, but now it almost feels like we've had time to sit with this for a while. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that comes through when you even see like a Mike Myers on Saturday Night Live, wearing his Canada's Not For Sale t-shirt and
giving the
elbows up, the universal symbol of okay, now the shit's about to get real. And Canadians don't like being pushed around. I think we're nice people. Well, I mean, some of us are nice. Zane Velji, obviously not, but that happens. That happens once in a blue moon. There's one Canadian.
3 Canadians.
Yeah, 1 out of 3 Canadians, absolute asshole. In this case, Zane Velji. But I think that it started off with the booing of the national anthem. I'm intrigued to see where it winds up. I'm intrigued to see where it goes. WestJet has reported a downturn in the number of people flying on their American destinations.
Yeah. Air Canada didn't, though. They said they were anticipating it, but nothing yet.
Air Canada flyers, we're a little bit better. We're just a little bit better than the WestJet guys.
Yeah.
But even the border crossings had noted that there was some, downturn in the border crossing.
Yeah, I did see that.
So what happens next, Corey?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, we've already, as a country, announced retaliations. It's the exact same as what Trudeau was on primetime television that Saturday a month ago talking about, right? Which is effectively $30 billion of goods now. I think $121 billion 3 weeks from now, after some consultation period. But there's also increasing hints that there's going to be, quote unquote, non-tariff responses too. I think that was in the memo that Trudeau put out there today, or the government did. And certainly Doug Ford has basically said, hope you enjoy not having electricity, and looking at the various pain points that he can start poking. But we'll see, right? Definitely interesting, because there's a playbook for trade wars, which is you match their tariffs because you don't want to give them an advantage, right?
Yeah.
Like, just in its simplest terms, imagine America puts a 25% tariff on a car, and we don't. All of a sudden, it makes way more sense to build cars in America because they can just send them to Canada, right?
Yep.
They're not going to deal with that tariff one side. So that's the logic of countervailing tariffs, even though tariffs are generally perceived as pretty destructive, right? That's a problem. But is this a normal trade war? Are we just going to go tit for tat? Are we going to try to, nobody's really talking dollar for dollar now because it's such a huge thing. But it sounds like Canada's going to do a bit of an escalation on the tariffs there. Or is this going to look like something different? Because, there isn't a school of thought out there that says, oh, fuck, we can't let this guy do this. And not in the sense of like righteous pride, but in we're going to train Trump to just keep coming back and doing more of this stuff. So we got to hit this motherfucker hard, because if you give him 2.5 centimeters, he's going to take 1.6 kilometers every time. Yeah. Right.
That was good. I thought when you said 2.5 centimeters, you were referring to his dick size. So that was a little different.
That was a little blue. Yeah. We didn't need that.
We did. Oh, we're in a downer episode. So we don't really know what's going to happen.
No. Do you? I actually worry that Canadians are underreacting today. It's a bit of a feeling. Yeah,
I think that we could react more, but I think that we will react more as time moves along. One of the questions that I have for you is, if you're Pierre Poilievre, how are you reacting today? This is the crossover element to our Strategist podcast. How, because Pierre Poilievre is what Timbit Trump, according to Karina Gould, the best part of her campaign so far, by far, is Timbit Trump.
Timbit Trump.
Timbit Trump is Pierre Poilievre. How is he responding? Is he taking the gloves off, going after the U.S.?
Well, I know the answer to this, so I feel like you're just you're setting up something.
I am setting you up.
That's not how he's taken it. You would imagine that this is an opportunity to say, no, America, when the chips are down, Canadians stand together. We're not going to put up with this. It's, Canadians everywhere are going to be standing up against this. This is outrageous. But instead, we got a little bit more. Why didn't Justin Trudeau do something about this a month ago? Which I think is a crazy take. And I saw that there was a editorial in the Toronto Sun that basically took the same approach too. Like, are we really just going to say, like, are we going to treat Donald Trump like the weather? Like, are we going to say that, whatever happens with him, that happened. There's nothing we can do about that, and it's our job to prepare for it? Like, is that? I don't understand. Like, on a certain level, somebody is doing something to us here. It's not as though we're just sitting there and like an act of God occurred that we should have been thinking about and preparing for. That's not what's happened here.
Well, and what pisses me off about it is it's about this idea that, if we'd increased our border security, if we'd done something about the fentanyl crisis.
Yeah. Ask Mexico how that's... Is there any evidence of that? Is there any evidence that you could have done something to head this
No
off?
one has produced any evidence that this is because of the fentanyl crisis. And certainly they haven't produced any evidence that it's about some sort of rogue immigration problem of Canadians crossing the border or even a third party, from third countries crossing the border into the United States. It just doesn't happen, and it doesn't happen on the world's longest unsecured border. This is ridiculous to me. But Pierre Poilievre, for whatever reason, has gone back and doubled down on everything. And one of the things he's doubled down on is the blame Trudeau. It had worked for him in the past. It worked for him again. I mean, I was driving back from Revelstoke today, which is why we had to postpone our little adventure yesterday. My apologies to the subscribers, to the rest of you. I don't give a fuck. But the subscribers, I feel bad for.
Fair.
Yeah. Anyway, I was driving back, and I still saw the requisite number of fuck Trudeau signs on the back of Alberta license plate trucks. Every truck that went by with an Alberta license plate practically said fuck Trudeau, and maybe Pierre Poilievre is doing the same thing that Preston Manning did when Tom Flanagan ran his campaign and brought him back to the basics of the West wants in. Like sometimes your stuff is so good, you're so gold, you don't even recognize when it's no longer working. You just move right back to it all the time.
Yeah, and this is the thing that I mean, even if you decided that now's the time to be partisan, right? We got to be partisan.
Yeah.
This is the time.
Yep.
Why are you pointing your guns at Trudeau? He's not here. Like, once again, like you're not seeing, it's not even where the puck is going. Trudeau's resigned. Like he's given in his resignation. This is going to be over, and it's March 3rd. This is 1 week from now. The Liberals will have a new leader. Like, this is not even like a long lead strategy if you happen to be Pierre Poilievre.
And does anybody even think that the by-election that he called today is going to happen in April? Like, that's going to become the longest election campaign, because it's just going to continue on and on and on because of the imminent election call. Yeah. I mean, this is ridiculous to me.
Stephen, are you soft launching the Carney general election call today? I'm curious.
No, I think that Carney launched that when he said he's open to a early election call.
Okay, just checking.
Right.
All right, just checking. Just checking.
A guy soft launches a leadership campaign on a podcast one time, and it's,
to be fair, one time more than like anybody else I've ever met.
Yeah, I mean, how many of them have run so many campaigns though?
That's true.
I mean, of all the campaigns I've ever run, I've only soft launched one.
Can I tell you my favorite part about that? So this actually happened for anybody who's like not initiated or maybe just sort of joined this show already in progress, haven't listened to our rich back catalog of thousands of episodes. I think 4,011 out of the last
something
episode.
Like that. Yeah. After last. Like
yeah. We recorded the episode. You did soft launch a leadership campaign. You said, "Oh, this campaign's going to launch." And you went out and you said this on the podcast, and we just recorded it. We moved on with our lives. And we knew this was happening for a while, Zane and I. And I don't think either of us clocked in the moment that you just launched a campaign. And then I was going to a restaurant. I remember because I remember like being in the waiting area, and my phone, I get a text, and it's a text from this guy, a friend of mine. Let's call him El Arab. Actually, that might be a little bit too obvious. Let's call him Lou A. And so Lou A reaches out to me and he says, "Did Stephen Carter just fucking soft launch this campaign? Like on the podcast?" And I sat and I thought, hey, I guess he did. I guess it's out there now. And you know what? It was kind of validating in the sense that then the news wrote about it. Like It was like, we were breaking news, but that happened. That's a real thing that happened. And maybe it's happening now too. That's all I'm saying. People, maybe you should write articles about that. Political strategist Stephen Carter.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I mean, no, I did not soft launch a campaign. I'm not taking the heat on that this time.
Okay.
I did the Sandra Jansen campaign. That was on me.
Your bad.
That was my bad. I feel bad. I apologize. Here we go. Let's make things better.
Okay. Good.
What do you think Doug Fort's going to do? Do you think Doug Fort's actually going to, if you're his political advisor, and as Zane would say, you're in the room, what advice are you giving about the electricity thing? Have you threatened it so much now that you have to follow through?
I think so here's the thing about electricity. I'm not actually sure Well, let's just put it this way. I doubt that lights are going to start going off across the Northeast if he does this, right? It's going to be different than that. It's going to create immense pressure on the system. There might be people needing to talk to industrial clients and saying you've got to use a little bit less electricity, but I don't think you're going to get to rolling brownouts because there's excess capacity in the system. Unless we happen to be in a situation where, say, a bunch of coal plants are in turnaround or something. I don't even know if it's called turnaround in the context of like the power sector, right? But if there's a situation where they're just offline, maybe, and maybe that's the moment that it's there. But I don't know that it's going to cause that otherwise. So if I were him, would be very careful about using that, and I would pick my moment to create maximum anxiety. I'm not sure I would drop it tomorrow and then have people 2 days later be like, oh, did you hear this happen? Like, I didn't even notice Canada's not giving us electricity, right? That would be a bit of the risk. So I actually think that particular action is, in my opinion, welcome. It's a good non-tariff response, but I think the threat of it and the anxiety it creates is more valuable than the actual situation it creates, which, again, don't misunderstand me, going to be annoying for a lot of people, but you want everyday New Yorkers saying, oh, fuck, what's going to happen when this guy turns off the power, you know? That's more what you've got to be shooting for then.
And do you think there's any blowback then on Trump? I mean, bringing this back full circle to the American side. You know, you've got these actions, reactions. You know, I was watching an interview today where an economist was saying this is going to cost American households $200 more per month, right? And that doesn't sound like a lot of money to us because we've got the subscribers and the Patreon.
Strategistpatreon.com if you want to. If you want
to throw up your $6 to keep us in the high life, but the $200 to a lot of people is real money. It's real money to most people per month. Not Corey Hogan money, but you know, Zane, for example, would notice.
Zane would notice for sure.
Yeah, not like he ever cashes our checks, but if he
if he cared about money or thought about it, I think he would.
They would definitely notice. So the question is, what are we, you know, is there going to be enough blowback on this particular issue? Because Trump did promise to end the inflation, and he's essentially bringing in one of the most inflationary policies that a president can create.
Well, and he's even saying now, oh, this could cause short-term pain, but it's for long-term gain. Like his language has entirely changed on this, right? I do think, though, we can't think about this issue outside of the context we're in. And I mean, maybe this is a little bit too philosophical, too big for you, the people, where we're really about dick jokes. Mostly.
We really are. But 2.5 inches or centimeters.
This is what I'm saying. 2.5 centimeters. Come on.
I blew that.
I'm so close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to not respond to the I blew that part. I'm just going to move forward. You know? I got to tell you, we are living in a world where nobody that's an exaggeration. Increasingly, people do not have the capacity to ever admit they were, right? Like they're just afraid of the ego death. They've all become intellectual cowards. This idea that I can never be, like children, really. I can never be wrong. I've got to create this excuse, this fiction where I was always right. If you get me on point A, I'm going to weasel to point B. If you get me on point B, I'm going to weasel to point C. I will never change my fucking mind. And, you know, I think I like to imagine, at least, there was a time where that was really looked down upon. You know, serious people looked at that and said, Jesus Christ, get your act together, right? There are no people saying that anymore. There are no serious people, it seems, left. And my fear is this is going to happen. People's lives are going to get worse, and people are going to blame the Democrats. Like, it just feels like there's just not a willingness to accept cause and effect anymore. It's become way too sports team. And way too childish. And I don't mean that in the name-calling sense. I mean that in the, like how weak do you have to be as a person? Intellectually weak. To never be able to say, fucked that one up, right? Maybe I better change my opinion to move forward. But unfortunately, I think there's a lot of weak people right now. Like, really weak people.
Yeah, I think that there is. I think that this is the real challenge for politics in the future. You know, I mean, one of the things that you and I have marveled about, and you and I have gone to DC together. We've gone to conferences. We've
roamed the streets of America together.
Yeah, on Segways.
We did. Yep. That's good.
We've done these things, and partly because the center of the democratic world for a very long time lived in Washington, D.C.
Sure. The United States more broadly. Absolutely.
Right. And is it possible that we're seeing a shaping of the democratic world through the politics of the last 12 years that makes it more and more difficult? I mean, and maybe it's more than 12 years, but we grew up in the era of watching Ralph Klein take responsibility for his errors, right? We remember politicians who said, you know what, that was the wrong play, and I'm sorry, and I'll fix it, right?
Yep.
And now that idea of saying, I'm sorry, I was wrong, I feel like you'd almost be laughed out of the room if you were talking about it in a political context.
Well, yeah, and because who's ever going to give you any kind of negative consequence for being wrong? Just move on to the next thing. Just flick that switch and go, right?
Yeah.
That seems to be the feeling here. Everybody is out there, trying to get their 453 grams of flesh from the other person, and nobody cares what their side is doing. And that's no way to have a democracy, right? Like, I know this is trite, and I know this is almost cliche to have this, but it's a point worth saying, like, this only fucking works if we take it seriously, right? Democracy does not work if we don't take it seriously.
Yeah.
And by the way, that means holding your side to account too. If you're listening and you're sitting there as kind of a smug progressive, sometimes your side fucks up. You just have to own it. And if you want to be a rational, independent, thinking human instead of a cult member, you've got to be willing to call them on it, and you've got to be willing to hold them to account on it. That is how democracy works. That's how democracy has worked. Otherwise, you don't have a democracy. You just have essentially like a quick tally, and then you have this kind of majoritarian rule. And that's just not what this is supposed to be.
Well, and yet majoritarian rule is sweeping across the land. The world is a difficult place because Americans seem to have forgotten how to lead the democratic world. I mean,
well, yeah, and you know what? I am baffled at Canadians not getting ready for this. 2016 on, we probably should have been doing more to distance ourselves from this bloating carcass of a nation.
Yeah.
But it's not just us. Like, what the fuck has Europe been doing? It's all of us. Like, how have we not adjusted or adapted or thought about these things before this moment? Like, there's been a lot of wishful thinking that's occurred across the Western world. Like, oh, it'll be okay. We'll figure it out. It won't be so bad. It wasn't so bad last time. And all Donald Trump really is doing right now is exactly what he said he would be doing.
Exactly.
Which is part of what concerns me, because the list of things he said he's going to do also includes things like Greenland and Panama and using economic force to try to take over my country, your country. That's Canada, by the way.
Oh, Canada.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Jesus, yeah. I was zoned a bit. I thought, is it time to ask a question?
And he's not going to succeed. Like, we're not there. We're not interested.
Is he not going to succeed?
Oh, Canadians wouldn't touch that idea with a 3-meter pole. Like, it's not going to happen. But he could do a lot of pain and do a lot of damage along the way here as he attempts to make this happen. That's the risk. The risk is his delusion takes him down this road where he hurts people.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's a downer.
So hurts people is a great segue. If you're one of the people in Ukraine,
yeah,
you've just been hurt. You've been hurt substantially. The president of Ukraine, Zelensky, Vladimir?
Yeah, Volodymyr, I think, would be. I don't know.
Vladimir.
I'm not going to pretend I know how to pronounce it perfectly.
I could probably go with your pronunciation. It sounded pretty solid. Comes to the United States as he does, in his uniform,
going around thanking Americans.
Well, he didn't say thank you, Corey. He didn't say thank you.
You must have seen some of these supercuts of every time he said thank you, like just like a cavalcade.
He didn't say thank you, Corey. He didn't say thank you.
Okay. You know what? It was annoying when he did it. It's also did it.
I'm just throwing it out there that it is annoying. But this is the there's a grand tradition of Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
And Ronald Reagan really stood, I think, for two things.
Okay. Sex with Nancy Reagan and?
No, three things then. Three things. Sex with Nancy Reagan.
Okay.
He also... I got that. It was good. It took me a little bit. It took me a while.
It's okay.
Destroying Russia or the USSR at that time. Watching out for the great American...
Communism, I think, more broadly.
Yeah. Watching out for that great dictatorship. Believing in democracy, furthering democracy. So far as going, creating the Iran-Contra scandal.
Yeah.
Democracy.
Sure.
And he opposed tariffs.
Yeah, he was really not very keen on them.
Hated tariffs. Tariffs were the worst thing that could possibly happen. And now the same party as Ronald Reagan is bringing in tariffs and is cozying up to Vladimir Putin in an uncomfortable fashion.
Can I... A note for you here.
Oh.
I don't want you to feel like an ancient near-death sack of old. But the way you're talking about Reagan, I want you to imagine you're sitting there in 1985 with your flock of seagulls haircut.
First of all, never had a flock of seagulls haircut. Can't imagine why.
Yeah. Okay. Well, imagine that you're sitting there thinking about how cool you'd look with your flock of seagulls haircut if you had the guts to put one on your head.
Yeah.
Right? And somebody came up and started talking about the Democrats doing something that FDR would be so mad about. Could you imagine if FDR saw these modern day Democrats?
Now, in fairness, they were saying that about Bill Clinton.
Yeah. Yeah, but nobody cared is my point. It's too much time, The reality is this is not the party of Reagan. It hasn't been for a long time. And it's really, really not the party of Reagan, Donald Trump.
No, I mean, Donald Trump, it's not the party of anybody when Donald Trump's the leader. Donald Trump. Yeah. Donald Trump is unique in the way that he's constructed the Republican Party. Newt Gingrich, I guess we could argue, had some of the similar effects when he was when Speaker of the House, but
yeah,
I think we're stretching to get to that place. This is a new era. So what's going to happen to Ukraine, my friend? Does the coalition of the willing step up and step in and protect and preserve Ukraine as we somewhat remember it?
Well, I hope so. I think that the war in Ukraine, there's things that give me hope and there's things that give me pause, right? Things that give me hope. Top of the list. Do you remember when Russia was supposed to just finish off that country in 3 days?
Oh, I'm very familiar. It was about 3 years ago. And it was going to take 3 days.
Didn't happen. And that didn't happen not because American tanks were there, not because American munitions were making their way into the country, but because the Ukrainian people said, absolutely fucking not. And they stood up and they put on a resistance and they pushed Russia back, right? So let's never forget that the fundamental ingredient of their resistance is their own will to resist. And I see no reason to believe that that's gone away in any meaningful sense, right? So that's number one. The other thing that gives me kind of hope is that the nature of warfare has changed, and I think Ukraine has been a bit of a testing ground for that. There's drones everywhere. The view of the value of a tank versus not is different. Some of this has changed. I'm not diminishing for a minute the value of HIMARS and some of the systems that the Americans put forward, but war is going to be different. America has helped Ukraine, but I think innovation that Ukraine itself has brought forward has also told us a little bit about what the path forward might look like. And then the third ingredient that gives me hope is that there is a coalition of the willing. There are people saying, well, we better fucking figure this out, right? And while Canada has been a bit of a defense laggard, and while no country really matches the United States in their defense spending or capacity, Europe's pretty big. And Europe has an awful lot of a defense industry too that can help fill some of these gaps that everybody tries to figure out. So that's on the pro side. On the con side, that's a huge hole to fill. And the Ukrainians, even back in those first days, benefited from American intelligence and American support in ways that I think are a little hard to exactly quantify, but certainly were real. And that doesn't exist, it seems, anymore as of today. So it's a scarier world now. But there are some components that give me a little bit of hope here. And I certainly think it's our job as just civilization to try to help a nation that is being attacked like this. And I hope we can figure it out.
So I'm taking some lessons from what you said there. And I think you and I need to learn how to fly drones.
We need to buy some drones
We need
that can drop.
We need to buy ourselves some guns.
Because okay.
We have to resist. That's what I'm hearing.
What would a Canadian resistance look like, realistically? I think I would be...
Careful. Remember, they're listening.
That's great. Okay. Great point. I'm not going to mention where the choke points are that we're going to have to think about.
There's a couple of points that are going to be difficult. We're going to have our work cut out for us in southern Alberta.
We are. This is my point. Like, it's big open space. But maybe we should try to avoid the war, because 28 grams of prevention is worth 453 grams of cure, for sure in this case. So maybe let's talk about how we get away from that, like head it off. That would be my hope.
Thank you very much, Corey. I mean, really, your commitment to this show is just really showing through. So today, the aid to Ukraine stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tariffs start tomorrow. Huh.
'Twas the night before tariffs, and all through the land, Canadians worried what fate was at hand. The leaders had warned us the headlines were dire, with duties and levies set soon to transpire. The workers